Rob on this?
You can say
as a term of endearment.
Of course you can. You can say that. I'm proud Uncle Rob. So let's talk about where it all began. Let's talk
Yeah.
about your hometown and kind of the story behind where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it starts the day that my dad quit his job and moved the cars out of the garage and started moving some nuts and bolts in. I remember being 3, 4 years old. It's one of my earliest memories, but I just remember it's funny enough, he would hate it if I told the real version of the story, but he came in kind of like kicking our Hess trucks, and he had one of those nights.
Yep.
He had just an absolute next level career ending midlife crisis, and the next day he decided to do something about it. So he acted quickly, and I always admired him for that. But I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. So I kind of had that firsthand experience of watching a business grow from a garage to a warehouse, from a warehouse to one twice the size, from 0 employees to 3, and from 3 to 30, and just watching it grow over the years was really cool to see. And I know how it could be done step by step.
Was your
without
mom was
overextending
your
yourself.
mom and the rest of your family involved in the business?
There's no question that my mom is the reason the business succeeded. Yeah, this is
Right.
hilarious, but he called it dispersion technology system, and the only reason technology was in the name is because my mom created an Excel spreadsheet that he could purchase inventory and manage it through
Yeah.
that. So that was technology.
That was
back
high
in
tech.
the-
That was
yeah,
high
that's
tech now.
High tech in the early 90s.
Yeah. So he started the business basically out of his garage. You guys were right there to see it and be part of it, and that kind of spawned your entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, I mean, from God knows what age, but teenager,
Yeah.
I knew for sure that one day I wanted to start my own business.
Mm-hmm.
I was, one of those weird kids that even high school, college, I was old when I was young. Maybe now I'm a little young when I'm old.
Yep.
I don't think I'm old yet, but we're getting.
You're not old.
So, point being that I'm out there in college. I could not wait to start my career.
Yeah.
And every job I've had, I call it a curse, but I'm always looking for efficiencies that are missing, and whether I can implement them there, or I maybe just disagree altogether with the way things are going. I mean, that entrepreneurial bone's there. And I'm looking and I'm like, okay, all right, well, if I were to do this alone, how much time do I need to learn the process, establish a network, really get it? And I remember when I was doing my internship program, we had speakers coming out every night, and the classic, like, get comfortable being uncomfortable, those types of things. But I was one of the kids in the crowd that these things really resonated with. I had my pen and paper, and
Yeah.
other kids seemed like they were just had to be there.
Right.
But I was a student that summer. That was really where my education began. It's funny, I took my education seriously through my whole life, seriously enough, I suppose. But it really began when professionalism started, right? So at any rate, one of the guys in particular, I raised my hand and asked a question and said, how do you know you're ready? Because my dad had he was one of the top salesmen in his nut and bolt company, and then they messed up an order for him, and then boom, he starts a company, right? And he knew he had client base and all that, and it was going to work out. For me, I didn't know when that moment was. Like, when's okay, I'm ready. So I asked the guy, and he was like, today, right now. Do you know what it is? Do you have the idea? You're ready. And he just kind of instilled that push in me that, like, when you really get the idea, you're passionate about it, you're all in, it's just time to go. You just got to start figuring it out. And a lot of people ask me, where's your business plan? What's your 3-year? All that sort of thing. I was like, 3-year? Like, I know what's going to happen 3 years from now, or at least I have some vague idea of where I think we'll be. I know where we're going to be 6 months from now. But if you're asking me to waste time not working towards that by writing it on paper, you're out of your mind.
Right.
It's up here,
So, why sports marketing? I mean, how did you, how did you get into it? What was your thought process behind it?
I grew up playing competitive golf. I played basketball. I was always a competitive person, and I don't know anybody that has played sports, whether it's high school level, collegiately, semi-professionally, whatever that may be. There's not a person in that group that wouldn't be interested in a career in sports marketing. But I don't think anybody knows what it means, first and foremost, myself included prior to getting into it. But, in my first internship, I really wanted to be with a small company where I could understand the inner workings. I could understand how the CEO thinks. I could understand, some of the pains of running a small business and, what the P&L looked like and all that sort of thing. And, to me, it was about getting in and over delivering as an employee way beyond expectations. We would agree on, okay, here's your internship, you're unpaid. Okay, I'm going to volunteer Saturdays. I'm going to go above and beyond to be the best intern you've ever had. Then when I got my first gig at the same company I interned with, Engage Marketing in Chicago, I came back now with 4 years of sales experience in various jobs, predominantly nuts and bolts, working for the family company, and that was not a silver spoon and mouth situation. I mean, that was hey Steve, here's $500 for gas, now go sell something, good luck. And that literally was the training, was I'll show you one pitch and then feed you to the lions. So when I came back to sports marketing and sponsorship sales more specifically, there was no way that I was going to mess that up. Just the hunger and the fire was there, that I already knew I liked this career field. And now that sales was a part of it and I was in control of my, monetary situation and to some degree, there was no failing. At the very least, I had to leave that job, whether I got fired in 6 months. I mean, it was just a 6-month independent contractor agreement when it started. If it was only 6 months, I was going to walk away from that being like, there literally was nothing else I could have done. I put it all on the table and it didn't work. And I think that's something you can walk away from with your head held high. But, it's the feeling of, I probably could have stayed for an extra hour that one day. I shouldn't have drank beers at lunch, with my coworkers on that one Friday, just because we had a good week. It wasn't an excuse. You never want to walk away from a great opportunity with those types of shit. Why'd I do that? So instead, if you can focus on what's gonna keep you sleeping well, right? How are you going to be okay with yourself? Don't worry about so much like your boss needs this many emails, this many calls, this many deals. It's important. I'm not saying goal setting doesn't have its place. It absolutely does. We could talk about that. But you need to define for yourself, how much does this mean to you? Why do you care? And how are you going to go about leaving it all on the table to make sure that not only are you going to be the best at this job, but expand it out to an actual career?
Talk about Revel marketing and talk about the beginnings, the first day, the first week. How did it all start?
Yeah, so I ended up leaving Engage. I joke that I sold my soul to the corporate devil for a higher salary in a different side of the industry. It was out-of-home advertising. It wasn't the same passion points. The money was much better, but I wasn't enjoying myself. It just wasn't the same flavor for me. So I started kind of thinking of ways that I could get myself back into sponsorship sales, because I enjoyed the hunt, and getting the win. To me, I talk about it with Neil, our operations manager, all the time. To me, there's no better drug than getting the big deal, like getting the big win where both sides of the table are happy. Not the one where just your client makes a bunch of money, you get a nice check. It's the one where both sides of the table are very pleased with the partnership. The surge of energy that I get from that is next level. And I'm getting a little bit away from the original question, but
That's right. Stay with it.
That kind of feeling, really is what drew me back, right? Quickly too. I wasn't out for long. And I know this is an industry that once you're in, you're in, and if you let yourself fall back out of it, I knew how hard it was to break back in from intern to full-time employee in the first place.
Right.
So I felt it slipping away because, I really hadn't worked for that long in sponsorship sales. But you know the story, Rob. It's you. We hopped on a phone call. Here's essentially where it came from. Is I felt fundamentally that there was a different way to go about the process. The client relationship, had to be maximized in different ways. There needed to be a more human element to it. It needed to be more results oriented. And I remember calling you, and we got on the phone, and I remember exactly where I was on Wabash and whatever the intersection street was, just pacing up and down the streets in Chicago outside of my office, saying there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way that we could make this results oriented. Like how can I get paid for performance? Because the problem with the industry is it's huge egos, right? It's I'm the man, I've done all this stuff, and that's true, and it has its place, and I'm not trying to knock that, In my mind, I'm the man, but like at the same time, you got to be humble and realize that just because it worked for somebody else doesn't mean it's going to work for the next opportunity. So, under promise, over deliver, that old adage was a big part of it. These are the things that we were talking back and forth about. And he said, you know what, Steve, what if I just paid you $250 per lead, right? Like, I'll just give you $250 each. And I was like, that's it. That's the model. Because all we're promising, right, is that I can get you to the table all the time. I have these relationships. I can get you conversations and dialogue started. Well, what if I can't? Well, now I'm not who I said I was. But if my revenue structure is tied to me doing it, not only am I incentivized, is my future employees incentivized because they'll get paid commissions on just bringing the leads to the table. But you're happier because you know exactly what you're paying for. And that's really where the connection, kind of teed up and jumped off the ground. I mean, it went way better than I would have hoped. Right. But everybody's willing to work with you. I mean, my God, you're not paying anything. So there's no risk, really. I mean, obviously, you don't want to just pay for a bunch of empty meetings. And I always had this written at first in my contracts, but some people took advantage of it. It's no longer written, but it's a verbally stated contract to the people that I work with, that it's on a handshake basis, that you got veto power, right? If you don't believe that a meeting's a good meeting, don't pay me for it. I'm not in business to squeeze money out of you for bad meetings and flaky ones. You know the difference between the good one and the bad one. Pay me for the good one. So that's really the birth of the company. And I remember going to multiple people and just saying, what's a good meeting worth to you? I was putting in their court and saying, what would you pay? What would you pay? Some were 100, some were 500, some were 250. And that's when it was just me. It was easy. Well, easy. It was hard to pay your bills, but I could manage as a one-man shop at that rate. It was, once we started getting actual deals, when the proof of concept really fully came full circle, that was when we were able to scale our business to, okay, now let's have a retainer, because I'm going to have employees and I'm going to have a team, and they have a hard cost to me, but let's still make it a financial loss. Like, let's set it up where if we don't deliver, we lose, just like you do. We wanted to have that mutual skin in the game. So this is a long-winded evolution of the business, but this is really how we came to who we are today. Yep. Eventually, always tying our retainers to less than what it costs me to operate the business, relying on billable meetings to get us to break even. And the billable meetings being quality enough that if I can get 6 legitimate leads a month, or 4, depending, I mean, every client's different, but if I can get in that sweet spot of we're getting good swings of the bat every month for you, it's only a matter of time. That's the magic formula, and time and time and time again, when we can get a bunch of billable meetings and we can get you to the table often, somebody's going to love it. It's going to fit.
So we're talking about, just to be clear and give the audience a little bit more context behind exactly what Revel Marketing is, we're talking about a property representation agency. Yeah. That's a full service marketing, digital, sponsorship representation.
Yeah, I mean, look, we really, really stress partnership sales, and I think there's a lot of people in the industry that feel the same way. When you say sponsorship, sometimes it kind of feels like, okay, we're looking for money, we're looking for help, we're looking for sponsor, but when you're looking for a partner, the one hand helps the other. So we really try to look through that lens at everything. When we're bringing a partner in, we're, of course, like, it is in our best interest to get the largest monetary deal that is possible. But you have to be realistic about, okay, am I setting this up for success or not? Have I overcharged for this and this is going to be a one and done? Or have I made it reasonable that it's a home run for the brand, the client loves it too, it's a win-win, and now they're gonna come back and scale up. They'll spend more next year. When you do year one right, there's more money in year two, because they wanna scale, so that's really our philosophy.
So you're in music, you're in wine and food, you're in
right.
big family folk facing festivals like LA Fleet Week,
Yep.
and you're in esports.
Yeah.
You got in at the right time. So, and all three of them are four different verticals. It's so different, right? It's
Right.
a so different demographic. Talk about each one. Let's talk about esports.
Yeah, so as the business grows and team grows, I mean, it was me on a couch, and then it was Neil and I working from home, and then it was 4 people in an office, and then it was 12 people in a very small office, then it was 16 in like sardines in 700 square feet, and we've just recently moved to about 20 people in a facility that's 6 times the size. So it kind of feels like we're bursting out of that startup phase, which is really nice. There's a little bit of a security blanket finally, but we really try to, our philosophy is Revel does partnership marketing, right? And that's what we do. We do the sales side of it today, and we want to be the best at it, and we're laser focused on that. So there are different verticals within that we can expand, grow, and be specific to. But you get a new hire like Tabor Bailey. She comes in last year, blows the covers off of it, does a phenomenal job with Coach on 555. It's a pork and wine festival. It was our first event client like that. That was a fine wine and spirits, good food type of event. Very small crowd. We were blown away by the amount of dollars companies were willing to invest in it, and she just took it and ran with it. We were like, you know what? Let's go get some more events. Mm-hmm. So the events division was born really with her progress. Esports, we were very early, one of the early adopters. We believed in it from day one, and we charged there. So, really having a good proof of performance. We worked with Esports Arena, and that's a great partnership that still exists today. So having that good reputation for delivery and client relationship allowed us to, take that and then go out to other esports. Now we have a team, now we have a conference, now we have, another stadium in Canada. There's a whole league that's potentially emerging that could be a client for us in the new year. So there's so much going on in that space, and having been early and having success, we were able to scale very aggressively, like a lot more aggressively than you could have convinced me living on the couch in Cheeseman Park 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the point was, about a year ago, turn of the year last year, we decided to break the company into 3 different divisions: events, esports, and traditional. Now, when we got our start, it was mostly youth sports. And I think that's the proving ground, right? For sports marketing, sponsorship sales, and traditional sports. It starts at the youth level. Can you do it there? Because you'll get more opportunities. And we've had some nice wins. And now we still haven't quite fully broken out of that. But heads are turning. We're doing great work with USA Football right now. I feel very confident that we're going to blow the numbers that we projected out of the water. I mean, we've already gotten some deals, kind of to that verbal yes. We're within our first 6 months of working together, but there's a big one in there, and if it does go through, I think it could be a big catalyst for us, to kind of expand all those divisions. Now, about 6 months ago, we started Streetwise Studios, which is internally we had graphic designers, because there's a lot of work that we're pumping out with this many people. And we were like, these guys are phenomenal. And when you look across the industry in partnership marketing, whether it's an event, whether it's a music festival, whether it's a mom and pop 3v3 soccer, whatever it might be, there's heavy need, I think, for better graphic design, and that's why I invested what was a horrifying amount of money to me at the time in bringing our first graphic designer, Jeff Ackler, on. It was, his salary represented us being out of money in 2 months, and when you can't pay your guys, it's a very scary, daunting feeling, right? So, but we felt the risk was necessary because it could help us look as good as we believe we are, right? So when we got him on board, boom, I mean, the bell-shaped curve took the turn up. We doubled our business overnight. within 3 months, we were 3 times the size, and then we doubled again that fall. So, it was kind of the perfect storm. Esports is starting to really catch steam. Our graphic design was phenomenal. We're getting marquee deals done for the first time. We're getting into the 6 and 7 figure conversations. So it was just it was nice to be able to look as good as you sound at that layer. So anyway, this year we decided to bring on some more graphic designers and say, whether people are willing to work with us from a partnership sales perspective as an agency, they should be at the very least interested in getting some help on what their graphics and their capability stack and their social media presence looks like. Like, everybody needs that. And we've talked about this, Rob. It's about time, right? How much time can I save you? Because we are professionals, we are experts in that field. Let us take one more thing off your plate so you can focus on running an elite business. So that's, isn't that what Revel is too? We're talking about, you can do sponsorship, everybody can do sponsorship. I can provide you a list of 20 companies and contacts that these are the best fits for you. You should be hounding these people until you at least get a swing of the bat. But you might not be the best negotiator, you might not know how much you're worth. You might not have actually structured a deal that's set up for success, nor have any idea how to execute it. And that's where we come in. And we're an extension of your team. We fly out to meet with you. We want to know how your company works. We want to understand it. We want to dive in, feel part of it, so that we can then go out and be your voice at a much, much more amplified level. There's just no way that an internal hire can match the level of productivity. One person cannot send 300-400 emails and 200 phone calls a day and have 5 meetings and so on and so forth. So it's about streamlining the process and giving you a team for the price of one good person.
Great. I think at the end of the day, when you look at these types of properties, whether they're festivals or whether they're fairs or whether they're music festivals or whether they're wine and food shows, those who are operating the business are stuck in the weeds. They're stuck in the weeds on attendance. They're stuck in the weeds with their vendors. Mm-hmm. They know how important from a line item the partnership, sponsorship dollars are to support the program. And you touched on it. It comes down to how much is your time worth? So if you're an operator of 20 events, where is your time spent? And sponsorship is a hard thing. Mm-hmm. It's changing every year, every 6 months, and on ROI and what the brands themselves are being held accountable for. Are they really driving sales, or are they driving visibility, or are they driving external branding? What is it that their ultimate goal is? And you're talking about thousands and thousands of calls and thousands of people that you have to reach out to, and it takes massive amount of time and energy. What Revel Marketing does, and what I know from experience with you, is you're saving people time. So you're in the time solution management business as well. Right? So, and that's something that you learned along the way. But I think from where you are now and the business in and of itself, the story for me has always been about your entrepreneurial spirit. Mm-hmm. So you could have taken this business and been something else as well.
Sure.
Sold nuts and bolts and been successful at it.
Yeah, this could have gone so many different ways, Rob. Like, when we started it, did I think that I'd have 3 different divisions? We'd be in events. I'd never sold an event before, So the fact that we got one, it went really well, and then we were able to use that success story to grow a division of our business. Mm-hmm. Ago, I'd have been like, events. So look, we're always PR. I'd like to be in all the different elements of the marketing mix, but really it's all built around the people, right? You have to when starting a company, you got to get one rock star and build it around that person.
Talk about that. Talk about being an entrepreneur. What are some of the things that you've learned over the last 3 years of actually, it's one thing to work for somebody, but now when it's on you and you're the captain,
Went to bed early and woke up at 5, and I thought it was nonsense because I struggled to wake up at 9 in the morning my whole childhood. But you start a business, and all of a sudden that's the norm. Right. you know, you really do eat, sleep, and breathe it. So it just becomes one of those things that's a part of you when it's yours. And I don't think anybody, I could only do it when it was a couple hours before they were due, back against the wall. That was just kind of my style. So, you know, being an entrepreneur really lends into that. Your back is consistently against the wall. You always have to get it done. The deadline is now, you know, so, I don't know. I mean, this is kind of the blanket advice I give. So when I got to talk to CU Boulder's Business of Sports program, got to do a lecture there. Phenomenal experience. But what I basically tried to make my whole message was, I've started 2 businesses before. Both of them never really truly even got outside of the, I have an idea, I'm going to put the pen to paper, I'm going to officially start a business legally speaking and go through, you know, the proper channels. So I'm going to have a business, but am I going to get it off the ground? You know, do I have the money to invest in myself? Do I need, I could talk for hours about all the mistakes I made the first 2 times, but what I really did was learn it's easy to start a business. It is not hard to fill out the paperwork, get all the checks and balances set up so that, okay, even though I don't have an office, I have a cell phone. You have a business, okay? That cell phone is your tool to the world. It's got Google on it. Like, we can do debt. When I started this company, I got more credit card debt to continue this dream. But here's why I went all in this time versus the other 2 previous failures. I couldn't stop thinking about it at my last job. I couldn't stop thinking about it as I was rolling around in bed at night. I dreamt about it, and it was the first thing I thought about when I woke up in the morning. That's when you're ready. That's when you're truly ready. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to eat, sleep, breathe. It's got to be 100% of who you are as a person. You got to be unrealistically passionate about it. I got roasted by my friends, ex-girlfriends, like people telling me I couldn't do it, ex-bosses, you know, people being like, you don't have it. That drive me. So, you know, I don't know. Everybody finds motivation in different places, but, you know, there's going to be a lot of new creative coming from Streetwise on behalf of Revel. You know, we're going to be growing that business aggressively. I think our sports division is about to explode. You know, I don't know if we'll get an opportunity, but I am absolutely targeting a jersey sleeve in the MLS. You know, if you're out there, you listen to this, one of you ought to give us a swing of the bat, because I promise you we're your best option. No one's as hungry as we are for that opportunity. You'll be hearing every esports property out there. I know why each one has advantages and disadvantages, depending on what your brand strategy is. We're borderline in consulting stages with that, you know, and I really believe that we can start to do some special stuff with that group. We've got some really talented people in there. And then events, like I said, I mean, Tabor is just blowing the covers off of it single-handedly, and you know, Marina, Candace, Connor, one of our new hires, like these people that have joined the team, like I'm so excited for the future for all these guys. Like I just don't even know if they realize if you're in sales, a raise is around the corner based on your ability to perform. Okay, that's why it's the best career field, because it's not a yearly review of I deserve more money. It's a, you know, Daddy needs new shoes. I'm going to go out and sell something. Right. You know, so
it all comes down to that. Just go sell something.
You know, it's honestly, it's the ultimate. It's up to me career.
Right.
It's
it
up
is.
to me.
Right. How do people get a hold of you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. That bing, bing, bing. It was like every 10 seconds. I was like, man, one day I'll be there. I regret having that wish because it came true, and I can't keep up with it. So, you know, now I've got an assistant. But if you do want to email me, we will ideally get to it, but give me a little more patience on that side. steve.b@revelmarketing.co. No M on the end.
Website?
revelmarketing.co.
Awesome. Steve, thank you so much. This has been great. I appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Appreciate it.
Boom.